Hi, I'm Dave Hilowitz. So as you can see, I am not in my usual studio. I am not even on the same continent. I am in London. I'm going to be living here for 3 months, 4 months, something like that. Living in this Airbnb, just kind of seeing what the city has to offer. So yeah, one of the things about taking a trip like this is that I wasn't able to bring any of my instruments. And the thing that I'm missing the most is my violin. So I'm going to try to build a violin right here in this Airbnb. We'll see. I'm sitting in the yard at the place where I'm staying. The neighborhood where I'm staying is called Camden, by the way. Before I go out and explore the shops and stuff, I'm going to order a bunch of violin hardware, basically things that I don't think I'm going to actually be able to find locally. Here's what I'm getting. This super cheap set of violin hardware contains violin pegs, chin rest, and tailpiece, violin strings, a violin bridge, and a fingerboard. Oh yeah, and I also ordered a cheap violin bow in rosin. Okay, so my first order of business is to try to get some supplies. I'm going to walk around Camden until I find a hardware store. The side streets of Camden are really beautiful. So is the canal. But the main drag, Camden High Street, has a completely different feel. It's kind of like St. Mark's Place in New York, but way bigger. Still, on the other side of all this mess, I did find a decent hardware store. Okay, so here's the wood section. Because I'm making a violin, I want hardwood, preferably maple or spruce. I've been standing in front of this rack of lumber for 20 minutes, paralyzed by indecision. So yeah, I just got back from the hardware store. I got some wood, some clamps, some glue. Most importantly, I got lunch. Okay, now that I'm back home, I can finally start planning this thing out. Okay, so ordinarily I like to do things quick and dirty and just eyeball everything. This time I wanted to be a little bit more organized. I just spent a few hours drawing up blueprints for my violin. Here's what I'm hoping it will look like. And here's a side view. On a normal violin, these rounded sections are called bouts. This is the upper bout, this is the lower bout, and this cutout part in the middle is the center bout. A violin's traditional hourglass shape isn't just decorative. If you're playing one of the outer strings, G or E, you'll need to angle your bow so that it actually passes down through the space in the cutaway. If you try to build a violin without those cutaways, you'll find it very hard to play those two strings. So yeah, I want my design to have a similar shape. Okay, time to start sawing. The apartment where I'm staying has no tools, so in addition to buying wood, I also got this tiny hacksaw. I've determined that I'll need 35 pieces of wood to make this violin, and all I have is this, so I have my work cut out for me. Okay, so here are the pieces that will be used for the front and the back of the violin. Now I just need to glue them together. Okay, so the glue has dried, and here's what the front looks like, and here's what the back looks like. The next thing I'm going to do is take these pieces of wood and glue them to make the sides. Okay, 24 hours have passed and the glue has dried. Here's what the back and the sides look like. Now we're finally ready to glue the top onto it. Okay, I've glued and clamped it now. This is my high-tech clamping setup, by the way. Hope it comes out okay. So as you can see, I've glued the box together. Now I'm just experimenting with the neck to see exactly where it's going to be positioned on the body. This is pretty much what the finished violin's going to look like. Now, tradition has it that if you're building a violin, you'll tune your strings using these things. Violin pegs are very low tech. The only thing that keeps them from slipping is friction between the pegs and the wood that surrounds them. As a result, they're difficult to tune and they don't always stay in place. Luckily, they're not our only option. For this project, I'm using ukulele tuners instead. They're cheap, reliable, and way easier to tune. The glue has dried and I've screwed the chin rest in. Now, after all this work, it's finally time to glue and clamp the fingerboard on. While the glue is drying, I'm going to assemble the tailpiece. The tailpiece comes with a little stringy thing called a tailpiece adjuster. They used to be made out of catgut, but now they're mostly plastic. Another super important piece of hardware is the nut, the thing that goes at the top of the strings. I forgot to order one of these, so I made one out of plywood. Okay, now it's time to put the bridge in position. And now we can finally put the strings on. This is by far the most exciting part of building a stringed instrument. My fingers always accidentally hit against the strings I've already stretched onto it, and I get a little preview of what the instrument's going to sound like. And we're done. Finally, time to try this thing out. Yeah, so I'm actually super happy with how this turned out. It's a little more trebly than I expected, a little bit like a student violin, and the workmanship is definitely pretty sloppy. I definitely wouldn't bring it to the local luthier shop because I'd probably be banned for life with good reason. But for my purposes, which was just having a nice instrument to play while I'm here in London, this is perfect. In fact, it's super, super playable, probably because of its thin neck. Yeah, I'm really happy I did this. I think that's it. If you've been enjoying these videos, remember to hit subscribe and like. I'm going to be making a lot more videos when I'm here in London, or at least that's the plan. Yeah, see you next time.